What is up, my friends, and welcome to another edition of the XFL Week in Review. I'm your host, Mark Perry, editor of XFL News Hub, and on this week's show, The Rock. We heard what The Rock was cooking. Yeah, we could use all those wrestling analogies. New broadcast partners, new teams, new cities, and more. He did drop some other stuff. We'll get into that in a little bit. Also, this is the last show of 2021. I went back, I looked at the stuff. We were talking about Oliver Luck. We were talking about, even threw up Tim Tebow back in February. Then March was the big news with the CFL and XFL talks. That kept us through. Then we had the Spring League games going on. That kept us through. Then the XFL, CFL talks disappeared. And then it was silence for a while, and including me being like giving up, being like, hey, man, like they're getting rid of the Houston Roughnecks logo. What's going on? We haven't heard anything. And then, boom. The slow buildup, like they had talked about, and we've followed every step of the way, including this now, The Rock appearing on CNBC's Tech Check, not Tech Crunch, Tech Check, talking about what's to come in January and February. So we'll get into all of that in the show, plus your social media stuff, plus all my friends on the social media game. If you want to be part of the show, email podcasts at XFL News Hub with your thoughts or record an MP3 or video on your phone. We'll play it on next week's show, or leave a voicemail, 888-430-7692, extension 3. Isn't that nice? Plus, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the air. We appreciate that. We're on Stitcher, Audible, Player FM, Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcast, and, of course, the big boy, all you iPhone people out there. And you can watch this show live every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. I promise I'm going to have me playing Madden on that Twitch channel. You can see how bad I am. I'm actually not that bad. All right, relax. I'm not that bad. As far as the timeline goes, we are 416 days away from XFL kickoff in February 18th, 2023. But June 18th, 2022, the XFL player combines will begin. And that's why we have some important news this week with the XFL adding some new hires onto their staff. So we'll go through that. Not really much going on in the USFL this week. We have some fan control football stuff, your social media, and all that much more. I was going to be on yesterday. Decided to take some family time. We went to see West Side Story. My dad, who passed away years ago when I was in college, was a big West Side Story fan, and my mom was in town, so we went to see West Side Story with my kids. My daughters are into theater. We're all theater nerds here. Soon to be son-in-law is an actor. Kids are into theater, and then me being a nerd into all this stuff too. So we're all theater nerds, so it was fun to do that. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to rush it. Enjoy the family time on Christmas, and then we'll get back into it on Tuesday, and then we'll be back at our regular bat channel on Monday at 8 p.m. So we'll get into the XFL news, social media stuff, everything else in between. So without further ado, folks, let's just get into the week that was the XFL.
The Fan Control Football Tryout.
There's a lot of sports fans here watching, and with you guys too as well. We are a little over 1 year away for launching our XFL, and that is our professional football brand with our chairwoman, Danny Garcia, and our other partner, Jerry Cardinal from Redbird Capital. And we should maybe within the next month or maybe 2 months, we're going to be announcing our broadcast partners, which we're very excited about, and new teams, new cities, and very excited about that. And again, as a former player myself, what an opportunity it is to create an opportunity for other players to live out their dream and take care of their families. So excited about that. So bring on 2022.
Let's do it, DJ. And we always are so grateful for your time. You got everybody's attention as always. Have a great holiday.
All right. So there you have it. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on CNBC. We're a little over 1 year away from watching our XFL. This is our professional football thing. We're announcing our broadcast partners, which we're very excited about, new teams and new cities. and are very excited about that. That was from The Rock on CNBC's Tech Check. They were there to talk about the tequila business, Terramana Tequila, the movie Red Notice, which was good, and breaking records on Netflix and some of his other projects. And then The Rock was the one that brought up the XFL, let's point out. So the co-owner of the XFL dropped the bomb coming in 1 to 2 months from the XFL. So January and February, we will get TV partners, teams, new teams, and new cities. So, of course, this then lit the Twitter sphere on fire, and your comments too, and we'll get into those in a little bit. Basically, by the end of February, we'll learn all this new thing. So let the speculation begin. Now, for me personally, I've talked about this before many a times. I really believe that, in my opinion, I think Houston or Dallas are going to move to San Antonio as a possibility. We've talked about that. We've done videos about the XFL talking to San Antonio after the season was over. Something that they did after they shut down. The other one is the Tampa Bay Vipers potentially moving to Orlando. I think that's a possibility. People are asking, why didn't the XFL go into, San Antonio or San Diego back then? Because at the time when they were planning the team names and logos, they were staying away from AAF cities. Now that the AAF is gone, and even when the AAF was gone then, clearly they were thinking about and looking at these other cities. I think you could have a real home run hitter with St. Louis, Seattle, DC, throw a team in San Diego and the team in San Antonio and revitalize those disenfranchised NFL fans. And even in a new city like San Antonio, I think would do well. And then, of course, the Vipers to Orlando would be good. So that's kind of where that is. He mentioned new teams, new cities. I don't know if we'll get something on the level of, a Mexico team or a London team or a Canadian team. I don't see that as a possibility just because I think that that's extra expense outside of what they were doing before. I think you could stick with 8 teams, tweaking things a little bit. The Roughnecks will get a new logo, of course, because of the whole deal with the Houston Oilers. We also had issues with the Dallas Renegades logo, dealing with that. The Houston Roughnecks will be completely, and this is their chance to potentially go and change the whole, and unfortunately, because everybody liked the Roughnecks, is moving them to San Antonio. That would be my 100% speculation when he talks about new teams and new cities. I think the Roughnecks team will be away. I think the name will, but the logo. But new cities, I think that's the safe play. These guys, are thinking long term. Mike Mitchell talked about on the Markcast, which you definitely got to check out, that there was talk a little bit about not even going after the CFL talks shut down, that there was some chatter about whether or not they even wanted to go down this path. So I think they're going to go down the path. They're all in, clearly hiring all these people. We'll get into those in a little bit. But I think I don't see anything outside of the box of that 8, at least for the first year. And if you're building content to as part of this plan, why would the first year in itself will generate buzz and content about bringing the league back and with the 8 teams and starting that. There's so much content to be had for that first season buildup. Wait for season 2 or season 3 to add teams, because then that's a whole new level of content that you can talk about and be part of the league if you're trying to do this 365, year-round plan that Mike Mitchell has talked about and Danny Garcia has hinted at. But man, if you want to take a swing and a home run shot, putting a team in Mexico would be certainly a big shot there. But then you have 9 teams, and then what do you do? Do you put somebody in Chicago? Do you put somebody in Canada? Do you do Toronto? Maybe there's another city in Canada you might be interested in. Lots of speculation, but here's the fun part, my friends. We're going to get answers soon. It's not going to be 10 years from now. It's not going to be 10 months from now. It is going to be legitimately in January and February at the latest. Because if based on the timeline, if we're going to have combines in June, you need a TV deal to come out. You need the TV deal to lure coaches, in my opinion. So you want that, not that they aren't already potentially reaching out to coaches now. You're going to try to, by having a good broadcast package will help you lure coaches and players. That's part number one. So the TV package to me needs to come out first. Tease the cities every day. Release a new city name. Let the buzz, let people talk about it. Don't just come out with all 8 cities and be like, here it is. Each day, come out with a new one. Even if you need, drop the broadcast package, wait a week or two, and say you're having 8 teams returning to the XFL or 10 teams. 10 teams would blow the spring football internet, Twitterverse, whatever you want to call it, out the water if there was some kind of that there was 10 teams, because then everybody would be freaking out to see what the team names are. That's what we have going for. That's The Rock made a point to talk about that in his interview. Watched the whole thing, and it was really at the end where he brought up the XFL news, and I was like, man, I should have watched it live. I knew he was on there, but I really didn't think he would talk about the XFL, and he did. These little nuggets, these little tidbits that get picked up by people like us, then get put out there. This is going to feed that system as we get bigger and bigger, and then some of the other all these little nuggets that are dropped are really for XFL fans, if you think about it. This is not the mainstream media picked up some of the things that The Rock had said, but there was no official press release, so nothing really got picked up. It's just basically us on social media pumping it, and of course The Rock pumping it as well. If you didn't see that the last time I checked, now fans can go check that now, his tech check clip on Instagram at the time that I wrote this article, which was early in the morning, has 317,857 likes. And at the time, this is to his 285 million followers. Big thing that he wrote about. He said, quote, "And finally, for all us pro football fans, we are a little over 1 year away from the exciting and highly anticipated 2023 spring football debut of our XFL. We have taken the time to build out a truly exceptional and hungry football organization." Cool. On top of 2022, we'll be excited and proud to announce our new broadcast partners, new teams, new cities, new innovations, new alignments, and much more. Did anybody pick up on that? As an XFL owner and a man whose NFL dream never came true, this is full circle passion venture for me, where now I can help create opportunities for players to live out their dreams and take care of their families. Here's to building out the game of football. So at the time of the writing, it was 2.1 million views in 3 days, that video. In the clip, he talks about broadcast partners, but did you hear that part? In the clip, he talks about new broadcast partners, new teams, new cities. But the post talks about new innovations, new alignments, and much more. New innovation and new alignments. That got me thinking. So Mike Mitchell said on this week's Markcast, the XFL could look a bit different from what we knew in the 2.0 era. He's mentioned that multiple times in articles that he's had. What do you think that means? New alignments and new innovations. Are we talking about chips and footballs? I was thinking about this the other day. If I'm Major League Baseball, I am so working on a AI computer that can call balls and strikes. I know some of you purists out there, and that's just get the call right. I don't care about this other stuff. Maybe that's what the XFL is, not maybe trying to replace referees with robots from Tesla, which would be out of control. We're not anywhere near that. a chip in the ball was something that was talked about in the 2.0 era, being able to get instant access to like the velocity of the ball that was thrown, some other statistical kind of nerd things. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's really interesting, and I love to say that word, the new innovations and new alignments. Does that mean teams in different cities get moved around? What do you think? Leave us a comment, especially new innovations and new alignments. What do you think that means? That will be our question for next week. This week's question is talking about the teams, what The Rock had said, not only in the clip, but in his post. We'll get into the new alignments and new innovations next week. But for you, new teams, new cities, that's the question of the week. We want to hear your thoughts on that. So really surprising, great little Christmas present from DJ. We're allowed to call DJ. I tell my wife, I'm like, hey, the boss is on TV. When Danny Garcia is on or The Rock is on, it's like, hey, there's the boss. Gave us a nice little Christmas present for XFL fans to chew on, and not for a long time. We're going to get some answers here soon, my friends. Now, I know there is a little competition between the XFL and USFL, and this isn't really a knock on the USFL because the USFL is definitely trying to maintain or keep their costs down the first year. That's why the hub city. The XFL is clearly wants to, but isn't, because they are hiring all sorts of people. So if there was a race between who has the most employees, I think the XFL is certainly winning that race. So also on the 21st, the XFL announced 6 new additions to the football operations department. Now notice the football operations department. Why? Because coming in very soon in June, we have XFL player combine. So they're putting together the football operations side of things is kind of out there now. It shows you, I'm really curious what if they're going to do something similar to last year. Are they going to actually have open tryouts? I haven't heard anything when it comes to that. I will tell you that the USFL is certainly not having open tryouts. I have heard that for certain. So with Redbird Capital, so they brought in Russ Giglio is a Senior Director of Player Administration and Officiating Operations. Jim Manos, Senior Director of Football Operation. Brad Campbell, Senior Director of Football Technology. Bobby Monica, Senior Director of Equipment Operations. CJ Cavazos, Director of Professional College and Professional Relations. Interesting. And David Dykeman, Football Special Projects. We talked about him in the past as well. So Russ Giglio, he returns to the XFL, somebody to bring back. He'll work with Mark Ross and Doug Whaley. A big time. Importantly, he will advise team personnel to ensure equity in player acquisitions. Interesting. Then we have he worked for the AAF and some others. Jim Manos joins the XFL as a Senior Director of Football Operations. Will assist with player procurement as well as support day-to-day operations, including travel coordination, schedule for each of the teams. Work closely with Mark Ross and Doug Whaley on that. Brad Campbell returns to the XFL. I would say it's 50-50 with returning XFL guys and then new ones. As Senior Director of Football Technology, work closely with Scott Harneman, Senior Vice President of Enterprise Net, to support all technology innovations on and off the field to elevate the game day experience. Prior to the XFL, Campbell was Director of Football at Synergy Sports and worked with the Seahawks and some other teams there. Bobby Monica returns as Equipment Operations, responsible for ordering football-related equipment for all teams, who oversee the equipment staff for each of the team. So he comes back. CJ Cavaros joins the XFL as Director of College and Professional Relations, works with Mark Ross and Doug Whaley on all aspects of talent recruitment. And Dave Dykeman, we were talking about him, Director of Football Special Projects. We're like, this is like a new one. He's new. Where he will coordinate and oversee all specialized activities relating to player personnel and national combines. And now we have that on the list. He will also be a key voice in player evaluation, roster development, and recruitment. So there you have it. Some more staff added. Maybe we get some more staff this week. Definitely in the early months of January, we should hear even more about XFL staff. But they're hiring. Nothing officially on any website as far as, but the key personnel at the top, football operations, is getting filled in. And now we'll start to move down to getting the TV contract out there. We'll get the football teams, and then we'll start getting, hopefully, team presidents and coaches coming here in January. Well, not January, February, but starting in March, I would assume.
The Fan Control Football Tryouts are here.
Begin your legacy with the disruptors of professional sports.
January 8th in Atlanta, Georgia. Sign up at tryouts.fcf.io.
So Fan Control Football in the news, they have their tryouts, more tryouts coming, Fan Control Football, but they also put this one out that the FCF DAO is powered by Flare. I am a crypto nerd, Dogecoin News Hub. Check out my other site. I am fascinated by the direction that the Fan Control Football is taking when it comes to using this technology. So they announced their new partnership. This is Flare Networks, who I've heard of before. A new partnership with Fan Control Football to power the league's collectible NFTs and set the stage for a DAO voting platform, which would create the first professional sports team controlled by a DAO on a blockchain. So FCF will mint and issue the league's first ever commemorative Season 1 NFTs, non-fungible tokens, on Flare. Those are like collectible items, like baseball cards. Each NFT will encapsulate a video clip of a key moment from FCF's exciting season version 1.0, such as Johnny Manziel's first snap in the league, Josh Flash Gordon's game-winning Hail Mary catch in his first FCF game. That was pretty cool. Or the fan-called game-winning walk-off touchdown in the FCF People's Championship game. These are all collectibles. Once Season 2.0 commences, FCF will continue to capture key moments and offer them to fans via play to earn NFT drops that rewards fans for participating in drafts, drafting the players, and calling the plays in real time. In addition to NFTs, FCF and Flare are laying the groundwork for a future expansion team fully controlled by DAO, that is Decentralized Autonomous Organization. This is built on the Flare networks. To give you an idea, means completely decentralized, kind of the backbone of blockchain technology when it comes. This is kind of the whole idea with, centralized bank versus decentralized Bitcoin or Dogecoin. No one, and people can argue the semantics of it. In general, these blockchains are out there. No one controls them. No one is in charge of them. They are decentralized and autonomous, so they're out there on the blockchain, which essentially is a database that's just sitting on the web that no one controls per se. Like no one owns it, no one can take it away because it's running. So Flare's unique blockchain Lego structure will help to visual the DAO format for fans to collaborate in a seamless, transparent fashion and to build on the promise of a greater community power. Of course, they've talked about the Ballers Collective and some other things. So it's very interesting, very cool technology coming to Fan Control Football. I'm definitely going to buy an NFT when it comes to Fan Control Football just because I'm a collector and I like new technology, and I'm really curious and excited to see how Fan Control Football. This is they absolutely needed to do this based on the level of league that they're at now. And the NFL is getting into the NFT space. They're not. I think Fan Control Football will get way deeper than the NFL will when it comes to NFTs. I mean, Tom Brady is involved with it. Patrick Mahomes is involved with it. I think XFL and USFL will also get involved with NFTs as well. And the CFL should get involved with NFTs as well. So a lot of cool things coming from Fan Control Football. All right, we'll take a commercial break, and we'll be back with hitting the chat room and your social media stuff right after this. Stay tuned, my friends.
Hey, this week on the Christmas show, the Markcast Christmas show, we're not really festive because we've both been working a lot, but we've got a Christmas gift for you.
We have a Christmas gift. The Rock is talking new XFL cities. The Rock is talking new XFL teams. And we are just lucky enough that we booked XFL insider Mike Mitchell already to do an hour and 10-minute interview this week. So we have lots of stuff to talk about.
I think it's amazing. I think we knew this was coming. We know that this is the time of the year now where you're going to start to hear big announcements. You're hearing it from the USFL, and that's building up with baby steps. And now with the XFL, we knew that come January, February, it's go time. And so they've, there was a time there a few months back, I don't know how too many people knew about this, where there was reconsideration of whether or not the XFL was going to be brought back or not. And I knew that once they press the go button and say, we're all in, they're all in. That means all in means financially.
You couldn't have planned that any better if you tried. It was like one of those happy accidents that you just planned, and then all of a sudden, it happened the same day. It was probably the best luck we've ever had on the show. Because normally when we're on the show, the news breaks after we record. But this time, it broke before you record with Mike Mitchell. That was great.
I would rather be lucky than good. And I think we were both this week. It's a jam-packed show. We've got like 75,000 impressions on our retweet of the Rock interview today on Twitter. It's going to be a loaded show. I hope you guys enjoy.
We've got some CFL business that's wrapping up. A new GM head coach in Edmonton.
Yeah, we're talking, McLeod Bethel-Thompson's big fine, pushing the cameraman. We can't be doing that. Paul and I both work in video production. It's a testy subject.
It hits close to home. We've also got some USFL news. The promos that have been going around, I haven't seen them. Reed shames me for that. Very disrespectful. To shame a busy person for not watching TV. Very disrespectful. We'll let it slide this time. It's all coming up this week on the Markcast.
All right, we're back, and guess who is going to be first of all, you got to check out the Markcast with Mike Mitchell. Off the charts. It gives you so much interesting information. Awesome. Definitely go check out that Mike Mitchell interview. He tells a lot of stuff that he knows. Check that out. Guess who is the guest on this week's Markcast? Me, Mark. It will be on the Markcast. That's right. The crossover episode is happening to end out this. We're going to close it out. The 2021, a crazy year. We're going to talk about the XFL, the USFL, CFL, Fan Control Football, whatever. And Reed and I will hang out and we'll talk. So I will be on the Markcast next week. So shoot the questions over to them. We'll be posting on social media and stuff. Looking to tape that on Thursday. So be on the lookout to end your new year with a crossover episode. And I hope that it's better than when Family Guy and Simpsons crossed over. I mean, that was cool. I'm a Family Guy all the way over Simpsons, though I've been watching some Simpsons episodes. Now I'm actually into the Clone Wars. Been watching that. I'm a nerd. I need to nerd out for some stuff. So, yes, I will be on the Markcast this week, so check that out when that comes out. Let's get into our chat room. Stock Speed Texas, boom. Reverend Davey Thompson says, hey, XFL fans, what's going on there? Richard checking in. Hey, how was your Christmas? Christmas was good with the family. Had a good time. I hope everybody had a good Christmas as well. Oh, I did get, that's what I wanted to share. So I did get two things for Christmas for fun. I kind of bought them for myself. One is I got this Dogecoin NASCAR thing from Spring Crates. I ordered this a while ago, and so that's on there. So I got this for fun, little Dogecoin. I got the Doge dog back there. I also got, I ordered my USFL shirt, but I also got a Fan Control Football. I bought one. Figure helping the cause out. Some Fan Control Football. So yeah, I got a fan control football for Christmas. So yeah, it's cool. It's a good size. Fun. So fan control football. I got that as well. Those are my little Christmas gifts to myself. Ryan says, R.I.P. John Madden. Yes, John Madden passed away suddenly. That news came out not too long ago, say within the last hour. I mean, a legend. I mean, Madden football. Every kid knows who John Madden is and probably never seen him ever on a TV. Now, who gets the rights to all that video game money? I mean, does it stay with his wife and his kids? I mean, how long do they have get to keep that name and that money when it comes to that? But yes, I remember watching John Madden on TV, and then, then he retired, and the video game lives on. Lives on. Paladin Demo, sorry I'm late. Had to get my Wendy's order redone. Oh my goodness. How terrible. He says RIP Battlehawks. We'll get into that in a little bit. I think you'll be all right. Let's see what else here. Let's see somebody. Coach Simmons, my man, they need to start quickly. Maybe strike a deal with HBCUs. Reverend Davey says Tampa Bay to Orlando is the better deal in my opinion. I agree. I'm thinking Tampa Bay to Orlando as well. Paladin says no doubt St. Louis is still XFL. Don't want a rebranding of the Battlehawks. There is no way that the Battlehawks are not going to be in the XFL. I believe, all these guys know each other from Fox and XFL and USFL. They all know each other. I am sure it was a thing to not put a team in St. Louis they're kind of staying out of each other's way because they both want to survive and they don't want to compete. They're already going to compete for players and player salary. To compete in areas with season tickets is just not a good idea. That's why I think Houston Gamblers are in Houston, and that's why I think the Roughnecks are moving to San Antonio. But we will find out. Elusive Poet. 3 safest teams should be DC Defenders, Seattle Dragons, and St. Louis. I 100% agree. I think those are your safe bets. DC was great, and I've talked about this before. In DC, it was there was a lot of yuppies, young urban professionals at these games. It was a lot more younger people than it was older people, hanging out, making beer snakes, having a good time at the bars before the game. Walters, shout out to Walters there, right near the stadium there, in Audi Field. Great spot. We did a show there with Connor Folk. That was fun. Yeah. Good crowd, everything, young people there. It would be crazy to not be in D.C., be crazy not to do Seattle, be crazy not to do St. Louis. But you drop a San Antonio on there, and now you have another bell cow, big-time crowd-generating place like St. Louis, and you have San Antonio in the mix. Seattle will bring the crowd. D.C. will bring the crowd. I think it'll be good. New York will always kind of be questionable. Orlando could be questionable. And we'll see. Maybe there's some new cities out there. Let's see. What else? Mass 95s. There might be a team in Pittsburgh and Boston. I would be surprised by that. Yo-Yo says the XFL teams are being announced. Not yet. Possibly January and February. Paladin Demo is correct there. Darren says, I think we can put the, quote, is the XFL coming back to bed finally? Yes, there is no doubt the XFL is coming back. These guys have hired these guys. You think these guys are cheap, on the cheap to hire? Chris says, FCF NFTs. I'm totally getting one. Totally getting that. I'm all about that. We'll get to some more of, Kuda Man says, just got me a USFL hat. Yes, LFG, me too. I cannot wait for my USFL hat. I will be wearing that too, out and about. I'm wearing my XFL hat even more now. I got the official Black Friday XFL hat. That's not as good as the other ones, but I have that on there on today as well. All right, let's take a little quick commercial break. We'll get to your social media stuff right after this. Stay tuned, my friends. What's up, XFL Army? If you're a fan of the XFL News Hub and you have a telephone, which I know all of you do because you're sitting there playing on your phones all the time, then why not download the XFL News Hub app? That's right, it's on iTunes. It's on Android. We have an Android version and an iPhone version of the XFL News Hub app. So what do you get? You get the latest news from XFL News Hub, the premier source of XFL news in the universe. Plus, you get push notifications when we have breaking news. You will be the first to know. You can leave a comment on some of the news right from your phone. Plus, you get this podcast on your phone as well. Remember, you can leave us reviews on the Google Play Store or iTunes. It links to other social media, our other social media accounts, and so much more. Be in the know. I know you're on your phones. People are on their phones all the time. They never get off their phones. So why not just download the XFL News Hub app on your Android or iPhone today? All you need to do is go to the Google Play Store or iTunes and just type in XFL News Hub. That's XFL News Hub. Download our app on your phone today. All right, my friends, let's get into the question of the week. Based on what The Rock said, what teams are staying and going in the XFL 3.0 in 2023? Lots of people, let's see. Cordero says, if they're relocating, I'm saying Dallas to San Antonio and Tampa Bay to Orlando. If they're adding, I say San Antonio, Hartford, Oklahoma, and Louisville. No. Hartford, Oklahoma, Louisville? Joseph says, I want the Renegades to stay in Dallas. That's why I think the Renegades are staying in Dallas. It's based 100% on what the USFL is doing. Eric says we want to keep our Battlehawks. They'd be crazy. Ryan says I'm hoping for a Connecticut team. No way. Steven says bring one to West Virginia. No, that's not happening. Battlehawks need to stay. A lot of Battlehawk stuff. Eric says Houston has to stay. I'm worried about Houston. It's a good town. But again, the Houston area was a big Oliver Luck town. That's another factor. So not only do you have the Houston Gamblers out there, but you have Oliver Luck, not part of the XFL, and he had a lot of connections. Remember the training camp was in Houston, and then the championship game was going to be in Houston. So you wonder if now that he's out of the equation, that Houston doesn't become a big player in the league. I mean, if I'm having a championship game, I'm doing it in St. Louis, and it could sell out. Let's see. The LA team needs to be in San Diego. The Tampa team needs to be in Orlando. The New York team needs to go away or go to New Jersey. The Houston team needs San Antonio. So a lot of people kind of going with what I'm talking about there. About the TV deal, tons of people, 162,000 people reached that article, 23,366 engagement on this sucker about the XFL TV deal, etc. Nathan says the problem is no one wants to live in St. Louis, or especially downtown St. Louis. All the hockey and baseball players live in what first rich suburbs. Justin said they would be stupid to pull the Battlehawks from St. Louis. Literally, they were one of the cities that have carried the league last time in terms of revenue and ticket sales. Absolutely. CJ, the XFL should abandon markets that already have NFL teams. I've heard people make that argument before, or even large markets altogether. Focus on smaller states that aren't worth being pursued by a major sports league. Take my hometown, Missoula, Montana. It has a 40,000 capacity stadium that sits empty outside of the FCS season. Look at the SEC states that don't have pro teams. Nobody in St. Louis is going to see an XFL team as a suitable replacement for the Rams. Well, they certainly will. Timo says, I can't get excited for a minor league to the NFL. I'd rather have no football in St. Louis. You have a good team with good players, and off they go to the NFL, and you would be a worse team. All right, not very a fan of that. Joey says, keep the Houston Roughnecks and Houston and bring back the oil rig logo. That's not happening. Well, there you get the idea. What XFL fans are out there talking about. Very nice indeed. As far as the XFL not being in St. Louis, that's not happening. Like I've said, I really think that based on what the USFL did is what the XFL is going to do, and that's why I think Houston and Tampa will switch. And that's The Rock was talking about. I just can't see adding new teams if you're trying to start a new league, unless you go big and go Mexico and London, but then that makes things so much more complicated. That's why I think we stick with 8 teams. We'll see. On to the Instagram about our question of the week. Blake Beltran 03 says either Roughnecks or Dallas will move to San Antonio. Alistair E. Fannell says St. Louis and Seattle, while the Vipers will move to Orlando. The Wildcats will move to San Diego, and the Roughnecks will move to San Antonio. I think that is a possibility. I mean, LA is not the great sports. I'm not a big fan of LA sports town. I think it's like a weird mix, but it's the second biggest market in the area. And that's important too. But if you have New York, do you really need LA? Brad Coyle says Tampa Bay, maybe. Planet of the End says I think St. Louis and Seattle are staying. LA and Tampa are more likely gone. I agree with that. Diego _Valsusa says San Diego. Fred JMZ _1776. Roughnecks to San Antonio. Wildcats to San Diego. Vipers to Orlando. Guardians to a new stadium. Dragons to Husky Stadium. Interesting. You get the idea. What's going on there in the Instagram world. All right, let's check out the YouTube next. Always fun there on the YouTube. Glenn says she loves to talk about herself, talking about Danny Garcia. She's a pro, man. She's a pro. Danny Garcia is a pro. James says, great episode. I don't care which league it is. I'm just excited to support spring football. I agree. That's the way it should be. And hope it does well because I know there's a market out there, especially those who feel disenfranchised by the No Fun League or NFL. Great point there. Theodore says you could put an XFL team in the Rogers Center in Toronto. Blue Jays don't play at that time of year. I don't see it happening, though. There you go. I would be stunned if there was a XFL team in Toronto. Excited, but stunned if they went that route. Colby says, super excited for the USFL. Can't wait. Love bringing back the classic teams. Hope they bring back the rest. It's going to be a dogfight, something Mike Mitchell talked about. It's going to be a dogfight between these guys. Who is going to last? Who's not going to last? It's a full-out spring football war going on. We hate to use the word war. I mean, we know the Monday night war with the wrestling. This is definitely shaping up to be quite fascinating. What if you got the all-star team of the USFL, and those guys want, and the salary cap, and how are you going to? I just hope they don't put each other out of business. That is my biggest fear. Don't put whatever you do, don't put each other out of business. On the Twitter at Bill_Ricard_Jr. He's got a lot to say. He says one of the Dallas, Houston to San Antonio, leaning towards Houston because of the logo situation. Agree. Wildcats to San Diego, Vipers to Orlando or Miami. Miami because of the Rock and Danny's connection. The rest of the team stays. Also feel we get 2 brand new cities for a total of 10 teams. Miami, I agree. Maybe Miami is a possibility. That is a good point. That is a possibility out there. Let's see. I put this out there that I read this in an article and from the KSD News, 5 on your side, and this is to put Battlehawk fans at ease that there was rumblings that the XFL has been talking to the St. Louis Convention Center and visitor commissions about returning. That goes all the way back to 2020. And David Burdett 22 says, yeah, one of the new XFL's first action was to maintain the lease at the Dome at America Center along with those in Houston and Seattle. He says from KSDK Channel 5, quote, St. Louis Convention and Visitor Center said in 2020 that the league and St. Louis have been primarily talks about returning to town. I put that out there. People got bent out of shape because I talked about somebody else who said something. I don't know. But there you have it. So that is out there. We've also heard from some inside sources as well saying that they have not heard people, that they know people inside the St. Louis Convention and Visitor Center, that they have not heard about any chatter between the XFL and them. Just throwing it out there. I have a feeling, though, St. Louis fans, you'll be okay. You will be okay. That they're coming back. They would be crazy not to. Caleb BRC 075 says, I'm a firm believer that Houston, St. Louis, and Seattle are key to the XFL relaunch, regardless of their previous performance on the field or what they're bringing now. That being said, I'd personally like some more high-level players from smaller schools. They're there, I promise. I agree with you on that one. Richard for real says, I like the move Dallas to Austin, LA to San Diego, but you got to move Houston to San Antonio and keep the Dragons in Seattle, move the Vipers to Orlando or maybe Fort Lauderdale, talking about that LA thing. And as long as the Battlehawks in DC comes back, I'm good. Me too, Richard, me too. I am very concerned. This was from Evan's tweet a little while before I put out that tweet. I'm a little concerned about my DC team. And where would my allegiance go if somehow DC didn't happen? It would make me sad. Totally would. Should make you sad too. I mean, there's a possibility. I wouldn't throw it out there. I mean, the way Pep Hamilton and Houston NFL franchise that he's a coach of, I wouldn't be surprised if they got rid of all their coaching staff too. And he could be a free agent again. Potentially make his way back to DC Defenders, which would be awesome. Because I like Pep Hamilton a lot. Andy Paul Murray says, Merry Christmas, Mark. Thank you for keeping the spirit of spring football going. Bright days are ahead. Amen, brother. Amen. I agree with you there. Pudge 301219. He has a long list of stuff. We'll just quickly go through it about our question of the week. What teams are staying and going in the XFL. He says, keeping Battlehawks in St. Louis. Big markets, you have to consider big NFL markets because they offer the most potential for growth and also advertising money. So I'm keeping the Guardians in New York, but just moving to a smaller arena. Tampa Bay to Orlando, agree with that. DC stays put. They did well, perfect stadium. I agree all of that. Seattle was great, keeping them there. I believe LA needs to move to San Diego. San Diego Wildcats sounds great. I'm agreeing with that. I would love to go to San Diego to see a game. Do not want to go to LA to see a game. Just pointing that out. 7, I personally like Dallas Renegades. And to add my New York analogy, you need the big NFL markets that offer the most potential for growth. I know the Roughnecks were the uncrowned champs and did great in that market, but with the USFL going to Houston, I'd relocate. San Antonio is driven, perfect for the league, like the XFL, so that's who I'd have to round out the West. But I believe to drive more interest in the league and have a better opportunity to seeding early on, I would shift from 8 to 10 teams, saying Oakland and Memphis as 2 markets to tap into. Interesting. We already got Richard on that one. Caleb, we already got to him. About our question, Hurl Quez says St. Louis was too big of a fan base not to remain. DC fans want another team to root for that doesn't have Dan Snyder as the owner. I agree with that, as that is also a very great point. But unless Seattle gets a better logo, I think the rest will go. Houston and Dallas are both in TM lawsuits that will ruin them. Interesting. And at the _Arito says Seattle to Portland. I think Seattle stays put as well. And finally, Philip Wedge 77 says, I don't understand why the logo situation means the Roughnecks have to go. The team had and still has tremendous support, even with the Gamblers coming, who will not be playing at the same time as the Roughnecks. The XFL Roughnecks needs to stay. I agree they're not playing there at the same time. However, do you really want to go battle the USFL head-to-head for season ticket dollars in Houston, or would you rather just give Houston to the USFL and then make your way to San Antonio and just do awesome there? That's why they need to stay out of each other's way when it comes to the cities. You cannot go head-to-head in the cities. Even though we talked about that, hey, would you have would you if DC had two teams, would I get season tickets for both? I would. I don't think the wife would like that very much. All right, let's get to some emailers here. First, Jack Stevens says, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Well, same to you, Jack. James says, Mark, as always, enjoy the XFL News Hub. Thank you very much. Listen to XFL News Hub's own Mike Mitchell, on the Markcast last night. Great interview. I want to make two comments I took away from the interview. Sure. I do think the XFL will play it safe and go with 8 teams in year 1. Year 2, I think the XFL will expand to 10, and I agree with you for sure that Mexico City would be a big bang. I'm with you on that. XFL needs to beat the NFL to the punch and plant the flag in Mexico. Yeah. Mike Mitchell, number 2. Mike Mitchell made mention that only 1.9% of college football players make it to the NFL directly out of college for whatever reason. I really enjoy watching college football, and one obvious reason is the talent pool throughout the NCAA. This tells me that both the USFL and XFL could easily exist competing against each other. Many players out of college still have the dream of making it in the NFL, but get looked over or not just ready to make that jump. With the vast number of quality college football players available, there's no question that the correct business model that XFL and USFL utilizes can be sustainable. If these leagues become long-term, there's a possibility that many players, coaches will aspire to make it to the spring leagues to start and finish their careers in professional football. I totally agree with that. Players not making it to the NFL but have stints in alternative football will have a nice bullet point on their resume after football is over with. Totally agree with you there. Hopefully both leagues will make it, and then at some point that their league championship play a game against each other for bragging rights. All the best, Jim. Battlehawk Nation checking in. I agree with him 100%. I agree. There is plenty of talent to go around. There's no question. It's going head-to-head with each other is what I'm concerned about going forward, because you don't want to compete in the same markets and you don't want to compete for players. And that's the sticky point. That is the sticky point. But for everything we're hearing about the USFL, Fox and the USFL, they're all in. And people that are coming away with meeting with the USFL are not thinking this is Spring League 2.0. They are saying that the Fox is all in with this thing. Between their betting app and then they have a deal with NBC. Like, this is a 3-year deal. The XFL is a 3-year deal. Do they merge? Do they have ownership? It's going to be crazy. I don't know how they're going to be able to stay together, and because no one's ever made it for spring football. Could you imagine you have the XFL at the beginning? So you have NFL, then you have XFL, then you have USFL, then you have Canadian football, then back to the NFL, and you have football year-round. Maybe that's what they're thinking. I like the fact that the USFL is in more of the springtime and not February, March, April, because it's cold, man. It's cold. And it's no fun being out there when it's cold. I would love to go to tailgate with shorts and a T-shirt on rather than, snow boots and freezing. I mean, we froze. I mean, it was cold. Not as cold as when I was in Green Bay for a Ravens game, but it was still cold and windy because we were right off the water there. So, we'll just have to find out. Well, let's get to our first phone call, shall we?
Hey, Mike, it's Brett Tier. Hey, Mike, it's Brett Tiers with 100% XFL and USFL page. Really got a question for you. What do you foresee come next year with the USFL and XFL, and do you think they will be able to coexist? Who do you think will have the upper hand? And also, do you foresee possibly a merger between the two in the long run? Thanks again, and appreciate it.
All right. Mr. Brett, thanks for the phone call. I have said from the beginning, I really feel like a merger 3 years from now would be it. If the USFL can stay out there after year 2, the real test of the strength of the USFL will come after the season is over. And if they decide to punt and to stay in a hub city for another season, to me, that means that there's blood in the water, that there's some concern there. If the USFL comes out and 2 teams have, that are close by, start to sell season tickets in year 2, then I'm like, all right, they're following the plan to a T. You have, Alabama, Birmingham would have their home team clearly, and then this new team, wherever it would be, whether it be New Jersey Generals or whatever, and they're starting to have a team president and selling season tickets, then it's like, oh, this is game on. I just don't think for 10 years that these 2 leagues can go head to head for coaches and players. I think it would be great for the football. I just don't think they can. I think if they both continue, I think they have to merge at some point. And I think both sides are like, heck no, we're not going to merge. We're not interested in merging at all. So, but I appreciate the phone call. Mr. Britt checking in as well. Let's see, we got another email here. Fourth and Long says, well, that's talking about the Rock's tech check clip, but the 2 million views. He says, well, that's why the Rock is there, to get eyeballs. He has the following for sure, and that is likely in lieu of major financial contribution. Fox is using NFL games TV ads for USFL, which has 10 to 20 million eyeballs, but they don't have the celeb like The Rock on social media. That's true. His brand is so valuable. Did you even, if you listen to him on, and this was something also that I took away from his interview on Tech Check, not Tech Crunch, Tech Check. Did you hear him mention about something about him basically being a public traded company, like their mega brand, something about being publicly traded? They did, and that they had talks about that. That's a lot of money to pump into the XFL at that point. A lot of money. All right, let's get to another phone caller, shall we?
Hey, Mark, this is Richard Humphrey, on Twitter, oh for real. First, I want to wish you a happy New Year's, and I hope your Christmas is okay. Second, I was thinking, if the XFL do come back like they say, why don't they draft like D2 and HBCU players, like the ones that won like their version of the Heisman Trophy? I don't know the name of the trophy that they be, giving to them, but like their version of it. When you think that'd be good if they was able to draft those players, like, give guys in those division schools, like hope, like, if I win this award, I know I'll be going to at least a league that would think of us besides the NFL. And number 2, the relocation, I'm happy about, but I still will move both Dallas team. Texas team. I will move Dallas to Austin, Texas, and I'll move Houston to San Antonio. And then I will move Florida, the Vipers, to Fort Lauderdale or Orlando, either one of them, even maybe Miami. What you think?
All right. Thank you, Richard, checking in. I wasn't really out there as far as the Miami connection, but I agree with you. I think Austin, Texas, I still think Dallas is in play. I really do. I think they had a good relationship, that they changed the stadium around. They can technically have their own building, where in Houston they're playing on the college campus, even though it's a big stadium. So I really think that's where it's going. Miami is an interesting one. Miami's not the Dolphins aren't that good. I don't think they draw very well. I know that basically they haven't been good for a while, but even when they were good, I was getting the sense that any Miami game was a home game for away teams. Teams like the Steelers and Ravens travel well, and we would go there and it would be packed full of Ravens fans. It was the hottest I've ever been in my life. In a September game in Miami, oh my goodness, it was so hot that friends of mine that were with me could not drink adult beverages. It was so hot. And we actually stayed in by the bar and underneath and out of the sun. It was so freaking hot. So that would be a wild card. But the Rock's connection to Miami and having a team there and the Miami Vipers in there, or changing the name, something like that, would be kind of cool too as well. And as far as D2 and HBCU, I really think those players, that is the benefit of having these two leagues, is you have to go grab D2 guys. You have to go after these HBCU guys. You don't have to get players. I think the XFL, the original, the 2.0 era, focused a lot on like Alabama, your big time college schools, and didn't really, except for like guys like Donald Parham, they didn't really look at those guys. And I think now look at all these people that were hired. They're out there trying to find these players, and I think they're going to look at D2 and HBCU colleges to try to find new players, and they should, because there's good players there. There's no question about that. Thanks for the phone call. Yes, Christmas was good. Appreciate that. Let's see here. We got this fun thing. We'll show you right here. Let me find it. We got a pal, Aaron, sent in this. He says, "Hey, I just heard that the Roughnecks abandoned the logo, so I want to send you 3 ideas for a new logo for the Houston Roughnecks." So check this out. It's got the HR and the star with a little hammer on it, and a dude with a little hammer with the helmet deal. That's kind of cool. I like that. Then they have the HR with the oil rig looking thing, which I think is fine too. But and then the guy with the hammer. I like the guy with the hammer. That's kind of cool. I just don't know if the oil rig thing is going to work out, because Houston will be like, no, you can't. And then idea 3. So it's up on his pictures. If you got artwork, send it our way. You put in the effort. Might as well check it out. Take a look. But I actually like the guy. Actually, I would say idea 2. And if you're watching on the stream right now, let us know. Do you like idea 1? Just put a number 1 in the chat, number 2 in the chat, or number 3. Which of his logos do you like? But I have a feeling, and I hate to break it to you, Aaron, I have a feeling that Houston is going to San Antonio, is my thought process there. All right, let's get to our final phone call, shall we?
Hey, I don't know if my last call went all the way through, so I'm just repeating my last message. So I would keep DC the same, St. Louis the same, Seattle the same. I'd move Tampa to Orlando, keep the Vipers name. Dallas to San Antonio. I would change Houston's name to the Outlaws. That way you can just avoid all that the NFL problems. And then I would change LA, move to San Diego, make them the Marauders. And I would change the name of the Guardians to the Northeast Guardians. And I know some people make fun of that, but just get them out of New York, just because I honestly believe, there's 10 million people in New York City. I apologize, I should have done my research on that. And we were barely averaging, I don't even think, 20,000. I think maybe a different market. That's a totally different debate. Keep them in that region, but just not New York City. That's just my idea. That's my prediction based on what I saw on your Instagram post. Anyway, I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for letting me call back again. God bless, and just really looking forward to seeing the XFL and USFL play. And I do think someday it'd be a really cool thing to see a major merger, which I think would be under the USFL name, but then you'd have like XFL East and XFL West or something as your 2 conferences. But that's just my idea for the long-term future. That's a long ways off, obviously. Anyway, thanks again. God bless and have a great day.
My friend. All right, my friend. God bless to you too as well. Changing some names around. The one thing, and I've talked about this before, I really think that a merger is a possibility. And I think it would be cool if you had the XFL division and then the USFL division, and then they played each other. Could you imagine the XFL, USFL, and CFL all merging together? That would be a juggernaut of a league at that point. I just think they're just gonna have to at some point. Either one of them is gonna fade, or one of them is going to merge. That's really the only 2 outcomes. I just don't see them both going head to head for 10 years. Remember, 3 years is the goal because that was what the original USFL as far as spring football could last. Yeah, I know you got some arena footballs that lasted a long time, but in general, major spring football, 3 years is the goal. And really, finishing a season, the spring league has, the USFL, we want the USFL to finish that first season because that would do better than the AFF and better than the XFL. But then the space aliens are going to come and shut down the league again. So that's what's probably going to happen. It's going to be something crazy. We're never going to get to spring football. Have you seen did you see the Don't Look Up or something like that movie on Netflix? I thought it was good. On to the Facebook, I appreciate the phone call. God bless to you and everybody out there, checking in on the show. I really appreciate everybody being involved with this. This is fun. This is why we do it. It's just fun. Some people take this stuff way too seriously, way too personally. If it's not fun, go do something else. Go play in traffic if it's not fun for you. Paul says, I like the idea of a team in Oklahoma. It would be, not now, but eventually. Jordan says, go XFL, get a team in Utah. I have the flu. Wish me better. All right. Hey, everybody's prayers for Jordan. He's got the flu. Hopefully it's not, the other kind of flu. Leon says, I like Dykeman. Good guy. Met him at a combine. Very cool. Yeah, I've heard good things about him as well. I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about some of the staff that they brought in. Some real heavyweights and some home run hitters, which is very cool. For the league, you like to hear that kind of stuff. Oh, make sure if you're watching the live stream before we wrap it up, if you like football, I forgot to mention, then smash the subscribe button and smash that like button. We're at 34 likes now. I would love to see 50 likes by the end of this run. So hit that like button, take a second, get the word out, spread the word out to everybody that spring football is here and you can watch it and there's people and there's fans all into it that are into spring football. So smash that like button, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. We really appreciate that because that helps spread the word about spring football. Finally, we'll get to our friends in the chat room, blowing up the chat room. Paladin says San Diego Wildcats. Chris says Oakland Wildcats. Those are two options too. Kuda says, in my eyes, Houston is safe. Houston is safe. He thinks Houston is safe. I'm not sure. Chris says Orlando needs a team. K Trill 214 says I think Dallas stays. Let's see here. Trying to get some other chat. H. Charlie Miller, XFL has got to move to San Antonio to avoid NFL lawsuits. I think that's part of the deal. And I'm sure the XFL would have a conversation with the NFL going forward. Be like, hey, is this cool? Are we good? Are we going to get into any trouble? We're in San Antonio with this logo. Can you just kind of give us like, okay. That would be good. Jamie Q, let's see. That's Cheerio Gaming said, I think should move into smaller stadium besides St. Louis and maybe if San Antonio. Let's see here. Lots of chats. Appreciate everybody on there. Oh, the number 2. A lot of people liking 2, like idea 1. Chris likes 1. CX Tyler likes 2. Sparky likes 2. Charlie H. Miller likes 2. Yeah, we're all about 2. Aaron, I think 2 is the winner of your thing, of your image that you wrote about there. Jesse says, Rock got plastic strictly, look way too young, LOL. I don't know. Why don't you ask him to his face and see how that goes? Darren says, put new teams in Salt Lake and Columbus, new Rose Bowl rivalry being formed. There you have it. Lots of ideas, lots of interest in what's going. Marcus says XFL to San Diego. Brandon says San Diego Sharks. I like that. And then Darren says the hub city in year 2 depends on the sale of franchises to outside owners. I would agree with that as well. Lots of things, lots of speculation going on with both of these leagues. It's just going to be crazy. This is going to be a crazy 2022. We are so excited at XFL News Hub and CFL News Hub to bring you all the latest stuff. Remember, I'm going to be on the Markcast this week, so leave your messages there, questions. I'll answer anything, CFL, XFL, fantasy football, fan control, everything that we're going on there. I might even drop a little hint about something coming to the CFL News Hub site that I'll drop that. I'll save that little special one for the Markcast. Nothing too crazy, but it's still cool. That's coming to, I'll drop that. If you can all remind me somewhere in your phone calls or whatever messages you leave for that show. All right, if you want to be part of our show, the first show of the new year, 2022, it begins. The journey really begins in 2022. We're going to go off the charts, my friends. Off the charts. It's going to be crazy and starting in 2022. We wrap up 2021. It's been an up and down year between everything going on with you-know-what and the jab. And then, the CFL excitement and crossing over, and then that going away, and then not anything over the summertime. Crypto prices go down. And then we have we weren't even sure if the XFL was going to come back. And then they do. And then they open the door. And then the USFL comes in. And everything we hear about the USFL is that everybody who's meeting with the USFL is like, yep, they're for real. And they're going long term with their USFL league, and this is not a spring league 2.0, that they're going all in, and we're going to just sit back and watch and enjoy the football, and we'll see where this plays out. But in the end, about what we do at XFL News Hub, remember, and even if you're watching this stuff and you're on social media, don't be one of these trolls out there. Remember, this is all fun, number one. Number two, we're out here supporting the football players and these leagues to help these guys achieve their dreams and for us to be entertained during the springtime with football. That's the mission, nothing more, nothing less. Anybody who, gets too worked up about that stuff is clearly missing the point and needs to relax. This is supposed to be fun, remember. This is supposed to be fun. So if you want to be part of the show, email podcast@XFL News Hub with your thoughts, or record an MP3 or video on your phone. We'll play it on next week's show. Leave us a voicemail, 888-430-7692, extension 3. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We're on Stitcher, Audible, Player FM, Amazon, Spotify, Google Podcasts. And watch us live every Monday, where we have a new year, every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, except for this week, because I went to go see a movie with the kids and the family. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Hopefully tomorrow I'm going to work on trying to get my Madden game up on the Twitch. Just look up XFL News Hub on Twitch and you'll find us there. And remember the timeline. We're 416 days away from kickoff for the XFL Combines, June 18th. You saw this week people hired specifically to work on that. So if you didn't think the XFL was for real and coming at you in 2022, you are sorely mistaken. The TV package is the thing that I think I'm really looking forward to the most. I think they have some innovative ideas, Danny Garcia and the Rock Redbird Capital, Jerry Cardinal. It's going to be fun, my friends. Let's close out the year. Stay safe out there, my friends. God bless. Thank you so much for just being part of our XFL community, sticking with us this whole year. Excited to bring in new friends. Excited to get out there and actually meet some of you guys at some of the events. I'm already planning, depending on where they go, to be at USFL games, fan control football games, CFL games, all of them this year. I told my wife, buckle up, because you're going to get the football going. And we're even going to go to a Steelers game, too. That was her Christmas gift from me. Was terrible towel and a jersey, and then we're going to go to a Steelers game, so I'll be there too. Hopefully, I can show up with Pittsburgh Maulers hat. That would be kind of cool. All right, my friends, stay safe on your New Year's celebration, and we will catch you on Monday. That's it for me, folks. God bless. Mahalo to all my friends out in Hawaii. Would love to come out there, and I will see you all. You know what I'm going to do. Later.